there exists a truer, purer religion than farming, I have not found it. No man feels closer to God than the one who has buried a seed in black soil and waited, prayed, and bled for it to rise. The American farmer is a priest of this sacred order, his hands baptized in earth, his sweat a sacrament. But even the holiest of men cannot outpray the devil, and in America, the devil wears a suit and carries a shareholder report. For generations, the family farm was a cornerstone of this nation, the great testament to our independence, our stubborn will to carve something from nothing. A family could scratch out an existence from the dirt, build a legacy in rows of corn and wheat, rice and cotton, hand down a plot of land like an heirloom Bible, tattered and holy, and for a time, that was enough. But then the wolves came. Washington, in all its unholy wisdom, rigged the game. Subsidies funneled to the biggest players. Trade agreements signed without the farmer in mind, the cost of seed, of equipment, of water, of life itself, twisted into an economic noose, tightening year after year, and just when a man's back had broken from the burden, just when a family had no choice but to sell, in swooped the corporate investors, the hedge funds, the multinational conglomerates, silent reapers of the American heartland. And it was never an accident. You see, the United States government, supposedly the great ally of the working man, has spent the better part of a century engineering the extinction of the independent farmer. The rise of agribusiness was not a natural evolution, but a hostile takeover. Monoculture farming, price manipulation, overproduction quotas, the gutting of co-ops, and the death spiral of rural towns. These were not just market shifts, they were policy decisions. And if you want to know what happens when you let unchecked capitalism run wild on an industry, look no further than a foreclosed farmhouse in Arkansas. A family worked that land for 100 years and held on through the Great Depression, Reaganomics, and 1,000 market crashes. But in the end, they were no match for boardroom vultures who could outspend them, outlobby them, and drown them in a flood of red tape. The farm crisis of the 1980s should have been a great reckoning. Instead, it was the first death rattle. Politicians made a great show of concern, tearful hearings, grand speeches about the heartland, but the consolidation of farmland into corporate hands continued unabated. And now in 2025, the family farm is little more than a romanticized relic. And make no mistake, farming is no easy calling. It breaks a man down to the bone. It is 4 a.m. wake-ups, torn hands, and sunburns that peel into scars. It's praying for rain and cursing when there's too much of it. It is knowing that one bad season, one piece of faulty equipment, one twist of fate can wipe out everything. But it's also a sacred thing, a communion with something larger than oneself. And no executive in a Manhattan office will ever understand the way a farmer watches the horizon at dusk, knowing he has done something honest with the day. And no market analyst can feel the quiet pride of walking the rows of a wheat field, knowing it's his field, his land, his work that feeds the mouths of strangers. And there is no dignity in corporate farming, only profit, margins, and efficiency models, monocrops and soulless machines. And now the men who have spent their lives breaking their backs to put food on the table are told they must bow before agribusiness, take their buyout, and accept their obsolescence. But to hell with that. Because there are a few breeds as stubborn, as tough-willed, and as unshakable as the American farmer. They do not quit. They do not go quietly onto a boardroom ledger. You can push them, bleed them, steal from them, but you will not make them go down without a fight. You see, a man who's lost everything is a dangerous man, and out there tonight across the Midwest, the South, across the valleys of California and the plains of Texas, there are thousands watching their way of life vanish, realizing maybe just a little too late that they are being erased, that their sweat, their land, their family's legacies are being repackaged as corporate assets, that they have been conned. But if history has taught us anything, it's that you do not push people to the brink without consequence. You see, the land remembers and the land waits. And there will come a day when a farmer stops at sundown, wipes his brow, and realizes he has nothing left to lose. And when that day comes, the men in the suits will tremble. Defiance till death.